Hey, Neil.
Hey, Greg. Morning, afternoon. How you doing?
Doing good? How about
Good.
you?
Had a rough week last week.
Hmm.
My 17-year-old passed away, so
Oh,
uh,
no.
yeah, just got me. Well, it's good that it happened on a Friday, so I had the weekend to mourn and reflect.
Yeah.
But that's the only reason why I'm not a little further along on some of these campaigns. I
Yeah.
did have a campaign go out, and I realized I added you to it. Thought that was actually a good thing afterwards, so you could see what I'm doing. And
Yeah. I saw the campaign you sent out about the trailer, right?
yes, sir. Yeah, yep,
Yeah.
that's the one.
Yeah. It looked
I
good.
noticed he clicked on
Yeah.
the soft tub link.
Yeah. So you're
Yeah, that was
now you're an expert.
yeah, getting the hang of it for sure. So that was kind of the first test run, and well, I don't know. Is it a good time to get to it, or should we wait for more people to log in?
Well, let's see. Mike just joined us. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Craig.
So yeah, it looks like it's just the three of us. So yeah, you guys just go ahead, fire your questions, and we'll take it from there.
Oh, I've got one. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Mike, I would.
Yes,
go ahead, Neil. You carry
Go
on.
ahead.
Because you were already going, go ahead.
I'll just wrap it up real quick. I was just explaining to Craig that I did my first two campaigns as kind of a test run, and they seem to be going well. The first one, the way I did it is I sent the first half out to the leads that I knew I had a first name for, because I had that placeholder for the first name.
Mm.
And then a lot of them, I didn't have a first name on, I just had the name of the company. So then I duplicated that template, but or edited that template and just changed the first name to company name.
Right.
And so that worked out good, but that leads to one of my questions, which is now when I go to look at the results of those, the analytics, I'm not able to see the company name, and I'm just wondering if there's a way to create that field so that, because it shows it says the contact, it shows the contact field.
Yeah.
And but it seems to only put like a first and last name in there.
Right. Let me show you. I think I know what you're referring to. So let me try to show you. If I'm missing the boat, though, don't be shy about redirecting me. Okay. So when you go to campaigns, view campaigns, and then you go into your analytics here. I'm just trying to get one where we have some data. So I click view, go into that. And I think what you're referring to is down here. You just see their name, not their company, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no way to add the company in here, but what you can do is, let's say these 7 people that open this email, I want to be able to, follow up on them appropriately. So if you go to make lookup right here, then you can say either, you can check a few of them and just cherry pick the list if you want, or just say make all 7, or, however, whatever size the list is, make them your lookup. And that way, then when you go up here to contacts, you do view lookup. And now you'll be looking at that same list, but now you've got all the different columns
the
to
full,
play around with,
Okay, cool. And that doesn't, and when I make that a new lookup, that doesn't change the lookup that's already attached to that campaign or mess anything up with that, right?
No.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, so there's those 7, and so I could even add more columns here if I wanted to,
Yeah. is there a way to, because this morning, I knew I set that campaign up last night, and this morning I double checked it. I'm like, did it go out yet? For some reason, I thought I set it up to go out at 8:30, but it was 10:30. And I couldn't tell, like there was no way to verify which list that I added to it after I added it to it,
Right.
unless I'm missing something. Is that just how it is, or am I missing something?
No, I understand what you're asking, and yeah, there's a few different tricks I'll show you. Let's see. Well, in my demo database, I don't have a lot of live campaigns to show you, but you'll get the idea. If you go back into the campaign analytics, like we were just looking at, so I'll go back into that same one. First of all, you see right here, it says total unique contacts added to this campaign. So that's just going to be a cumulative number, so you might use the same campaign for months and that number is just going to keep growing. It's just total number of unique contacts that have been on that campaign.
Right.
But at least that gives you a quick reality check. Okay, wait a minute. Did I add all 1,000 of those people to that campaign or not? And then it'll say emails being sent right now. So the system constantly, every few minutes, is looking at your database and going, hey, is there any email tasks scheduled that need to be processed right now? And so if your campaign is in the midst of going out right now, you'll see something besides 0 in this number right here.
Right.
And then, of course, this here is total number of emails that have been actually sent. So while the thing is in process, you're going to see these numbers kind of move and ebb and flow, and they won't always add up perfectly, but don't worry about that. That's just because, there's different parts of the system at work. And then if you go back to this little drop down and you say contacts with pending emails, right? That's going to show you. So if you're sitting there thinking, wait, I know I scheduled it for all these people, but it hasn't been sent to them yet. You can look at this and it'll list those contacts that are scheduled to get the emails in that campaign, but have not yet gotten them. Does that make sense?
Does it list those even before it has started yet? Because I thought I checked that, but I can't remember for sure. Maybe I didn't.
Yeah.
And then
now, go ahead.
Because early this morning I was trying to, I'm like, okay, now I'm afraid if I add the list to it again, that they might email twice. So I said, let me just wait it out, see what happens. And I noticed that's
right. Yeah. So let me show you one other piece. And actually, before I forget to mention it, there is a protection in the system that will prevent you from sending the same campaign with the same template to the same contact within a 24-hour period.
Okay, that's good.
So in that scenario that you described, when you accidentally resend it, it won't let you do it.
Cool.
That can be kind of annoying sometimes when you're testing your campaign and stuff, but that's a whole other story. Let's see. The other thing I wanted to show you is if we just go to a contact, you'll notice the way that the system processes the campaigns. So let me find one that's got some tasks. Yeah, okay. So you can see, this is my demo database and we have the actual email sending turned off so that it doesn't send any emails that I schedule in a demo, right? But so you see a bunch of stuff that's in the past, but it doesn't matter. Point is, when you add contacts to your campaign, there's really two steps before the email's actually sent. One is the system first schedules tasks like this for every campaign. So each one of these email tasks that shows up in the activities tab is a unique email that was part of some campaign that has not yet been sent yet. Then once it's actually sent, you'll see that that task will go away. In other words, it gets cleared. The same way, like if I clear that task to make a cold call or whatever, right? I clear it and I say, you know, these are my notes, right? And now it's going to remove that from that activities tab. Same thing happens with the emails, but it's our email engine that's doing it. And then what you'll see is when you go to the notes tab, you will see the email will show up here as having been sent, the same way this call shows up as having been done. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
So you can, there is sometimes a lag. It depends on how big your list is and a few other factors, but you know, sometimes there'll be 5-minute lag before you really start seeing the emails go out, right? And so when you're sitting there thinking, wait, am I crazy? Did I do something wrong? You can just go to the contacts and look at that activities tab. And if you see the activity there, it just means you did it right. The system just hasn't caught up with you yet. And
Gotcha.
if you see the note, then it means the email has already been sent. If you don't see either, if you don't see a task or a note, then that means something went wrong. It didn't get sent at all.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. All right. And there is apparently 2 different ways to add those to the campaign, because I've seen you do it on the like front end, which I haven't figured out how to do that myself for some reason. I don't remember how you did that. Maybe I could go over the old videos and see it, but it's easy the way that I did it. But do you know what I mean by on the front end, where you like create the list and you create the lookup, and then you checked all the boxes to highlight all of them, and then I think from that page there, you just quickly added it to a campaign, did you not?
Yeah. So let's see. I guess the simple example would just be, you know, if you just go to your contacts or you go to lookup and do some sort of a lookup, whatever, doesn't matter how you get there. But anyway, you end up with some list like this, right? So right here, I can just hit add to campaign, the little email button, right? And it will, you see how right here it says lookup 131. So that's because I was on a list that had 131 people on it. Now it's gonna give me the option to send the campaign to all of those people, right? Or I can go here, saved lookup, and now I didn't want to send it to those active brokers. What I actually want to send it to is my prospects, right? So I check that and it tells me there's 991 of those, and I say add to campaign, and off it goes. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, and I'm just trying to figure out why that was difficult for me to see before. So let's see. Let me try how I was doing it before. So I check those. Now I'm selecting all, and if I highlight that, yeah, I guess I don't know how I overlooked that. You made that seem so simple. Thanks.
Well, it's also up here. Doesn't matter where you are in the application, you can go to campaigns and then add to campaign, and it takes you to the same place.
Right. Okay. Yep. That's how I was doing it before.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's see. So the now that the email has sent, what you want to do is, and it sounds like you probably already have done this. You want to look at the analytics and just kind of benchmark your open and your click rate, right? Do you know off the top of your head what the open rate or the click rate was?
This one I'm looking at, let's see. This does lead to another question. So like this one says 13 opens, 9 clicks, 0 opt-outs, and 44 bounces.
Okay.
Now, on the other smaller campaign that I did, it showed that I had like 7 bounces, but what was strange is one of those bounces said that it opened the email and clicked on a link. And so do you know what that could possibly mean? Have you have any idea how that could happen?
Yeah, it's most likely related to some weird setting on the recipient's mail server, you know, that the IT people have a lot of tricky ways they can configure things to sort of defeat what they deem as spammers, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably what it has to do with, the firewalls clicking on the links, and then it's sending us a message. Like it's checking it by clicking on things, and then it determines it's spam, and then it sends our server a message saying, this is an invalid email box. Don't ever send here again. Right.
Well, yeah, that was
most likely.
Yeah,
but you know, the couple of things that you might want to think about if you, in the case where that kind of thing happens, and it's, you know, it's a valid email, right? It's somebody you know, right? Then if you edit their email address in their contact record, just make a change to it, let the system save it, and then change it back. That resets that bounce flag. And so that's just a quick fix around it when you know you're dealing with somebody that, you know, there must have been a technical issue, right?
Okay.
But also if it's more, you know, you just have a list of people and you don't really know them, and some of them are bouncing, or maybe a higher than expected rate of bounces, you might want to cleanse the list, right? Because that will tell you, you know, specifically which ones are valid email boxes, which ones are spam traps, all that kind of stuff, right? So to do that, you go up here to settings and then add contacts. And then you go over here to manage imported lists, and you can just check off whichever imports you want. And then up here, you just say cleanse the selected lists. And there's a 2 cents per email charge, but it's worth doing, especially in the case where you're bringing in, you know, sort of cold lists, because you just never know. And this will clean the spam traps and stuff off of the list.
Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, that's good that you got that in there. That's great.
Yeah, we're actually adding capabilities to that that'll be coming out here in the next couple of months. So
nice. And I want to make sure Mike doesn't get left out. You got any questions, Mike?
Yeah, actually, I do. I didn't want to interrupt the flow there because you want to, you know, when you're getting one question answered that leads to another, so you get your whole picture, Neil. It's no problem. Because I go on one thing and then it's like, oh, but what about this? And then, oh, what about that? You know, I did the web form thing, right?
Right.
Where I clicked on integrations and I filled out the fields. You know how you have to put the field names in? Because I've got a form on it's on my homepage. It's on a subdomain actually. But anyway, this form I created it with Fluent Forms, the plugin or whatever. Okay. And I'm wondering, I don't know if I should have done that now. I just forgot about your integration. But anyway, I was using Perplexity.ai. It was telling me, oh, you're fine with Fluent Forms. Just use SalesNexus's integration. And I'm like, okay. So I got the form fields. I found out what they were called. Hopefully I got it right. I did that, you know, when you right click the page and hit inspect. Yep. I got it that way. Okay. So I think I did that right. So what I want is when someone fills out this form, it's just their first name, last name, phone number, and email. I don't want that info to just stay in my WordPress site or in that subdomain admin section or whatever. I want that info to go over to SalesNexus and create a new contact. And I think I've done that right. Okay. I put the fields in, generated the script, put the script in the footer, for that page. So I think I'm okay there. But now I'm thinking, well, I want that to trigger an automation sequence. And I created this automation
Mm-hmm.
thing in my SalesNexus account. And I can't connect it together. I go into automations, SalesNexus. Like if you go into automations, then unless I'm going to the wrong place, it's listed there. Where is it? I'm just going in myself just so I can refresh my memory here. Campaigns, automation plans, I think.
Right. Yep.
And so I thought, well, I've already got this. It's called lead gen appointment setting on the phone. So basically, the one I already created was where if I'm talking to someone and I just change I think it's their status to new opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've got that in sales fields, and I think that's right.
Okay.
So the field is sales stage, and then the operator is equals. So sales stage equals new opportunities. That means if I'm talking to someone, I've got their contact record open. There should be a tab somewhere for sales stage, and I just hit the drop down, select new opportunity, and then this automation should go out, right?
Yeah. In theory, you're on the right track. However, there's a couple of little details there that may be tripping you up a little bit. So,
now that was a separate one because now for this form, sorry, Craig.
That's okay.
I thought since it's the same sequence automation, I was going to add this new form to the same thing. And I thought, well, hold on, I can't do that. I'll probably just do a new one, right?
Right. Yep.
So I did that, and I've got this new automation, and
Uh-huh.
I've got it when subdomain lead capture form is filled out. This is the weird thing. How do I say once this form is filled out or the data is passed, then it triggers this automation?
Yeah.
So would I call it non-retro? No, it's meant to be. Why is it non-retroactive? It's meant to be new contact, not
Right.
right? New contact.
Yep. Yep. So,
Right, so the fields in there are. I've got field is website, and then I got equals for the parameter or the operator. Sorry, website equals, and I put my website subdomain leads.paperstakes.com.
oh yeah, no,
That's not it. But I didn't know what else to choose.
Sure. Yeah. No, I understand. So here's what I recommend. You're still seeing my screen, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So when you do the web lead capture setup, and the good news is, Mike, you're not going to have to change. You're not going to have to recreate or paste that script back into your page. If you just go back here to the settings and then integrations and then website, right?
Yeah.
Where you set up, you chose your fields, right? You said the first, last, and phone and email.
Yeah.
Well, go in here and add one more field. And let me just show you what I mean by that. I already got lead source in there, but I'm going to do.
Oh, I took lead source out.
Yeah. See, include that or status, or you can make up your own field if you want. But those are kind of the built-in fields that we typically use in this way. And
lead source. Yeah, I see what you mean. You're just trying to connect it to this info.
We have to have something in that contact record that gets created that will identify it as having come from that web form, right?
Yeah.
And so you see now here, I got all my fields that I've selected, leads, and in this example, lead source and status, they're not even in the form, right? They're not something that I'm asking the customer to fill out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and say constant, and that way I can put website, or maybe even be more specific. It could be, the XYZ landing page or whatever, whatever you want that value to be that tells you where it came from, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the status also, I'll make that constant and call it new lead, right? So now
But I need both of them. Sorry, Craig.
What's that?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. What this is going to do, you still have to fill out the IDs and all that for the other ones, right? Just like you've already done, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And now what's going to happen is, you take the little script, put it in your form, and anytime somebody fills out that form, it's going to create the new contact record with their email and their phone and their name. But it's also going to make sure that their lead source is XYZ landing page and their status is new lead. So, number one, you can then create an automation that says when there's a new contact that has lead source equal to XYZ landing page, turn on this campaign, right?
Yeah.
But then also by having the status also, like the way I think about this, you would never change the lead source. You always want to know this contact came from this place, right? No matter what happens in the relationship. But the status is where you change it, like instead of once you talk to them, they're not a new lead anymore. They're either a qualified prospect or a dead lead or something, right?
Right.
And so you set up the status so you can kind of track where they are in their relationship with you. And so now you can do all kinds of reports, right? Show me how many leads came from my web page last month, and how many of them are still new leads, and how many of them are qualified prospects, right? Now you can start to measure ROI, right?
Okay, so I'll put lead source and constant name, the landing page, and do the same thing with the status, and then regenerate the script.
Yeah, but here's the detail. All you got to do is save and generate script, okay?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. Hang on. Let me back up because this is a really important detail that'll get you if you don't know about it. So right here, form name. If you, in this case that we're talking about, you want to make sure that you use the same exact form name that you used the first time, right?
Okay. Can I go back and edit my script that I already did, or I got to do a new one?
No, let me finish. This will make sense, I think. So if you called it, contact us before, right? Just make sure and put that in there again this time. Do all the things that we just talked about with the constant and all of that, right? And then say save and generate script. And what that does is it actually changes the script that is stored on our server with your new, criteria and settings, right? So you don't have to even copy and paste the script into your website again. You've already done that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I probably want to do it just to make sure, but I guess I don't have to.
Like the idea is once you've got it in your website, you can keep monkeying with all the criteria here as you play around with it, but you don't have to keep going back into the website and changing that.
Oh, that's excellent. Oh, and while we're on this page, is unique and required. I checked that for everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to do that either. So is unique means it will, if those fields that are checked off match an existing customer in your database, then it won't create a new one. Right? So in other words, it's duplicate checking for you.
Right.
So, you might want to do it based on email, but since we're talking about an inquiry coming through your website,
I don't want to check any of them.
Yeah, maybe not. Right.
Yeah.
And then required is they have to fill it out. It cannot be blank. And if it is blank, then our system's not going to process it. Right.
I already have it required, all those fields in the Fluent Forms form itself.
Well, that's the key detail, is that the way you've set it up in your web form has to line up with the required check boxes here.
Oh, okay. So I'll check them all there as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's really good. So then once I do that, I have to go in and create a new automation that says if the lead source is XYZ landing page and the status is new lead, send out this sequence.
That's right. Yeah, and you don't necessarily have to use both lead source and status. You can just use the lead source, possibly.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay.
Because you may have
And
other
then
contacts.
okay, that's great.
Your leads.
So it's just the automation. Yeah, because I want to use the same. It's like 4 steps. It's like an email, a phone call, an email, and I don't know. I forget. There's 4 things in it. That must be another email. That's already set up. So I want to use that automation. So what do I set up? I just set up a campaign.
Yeah, that's right. And it sounds like you already have that, right?
Because I already have the automation thing set up.
Yeah, so you just go into the automation plans and open up the one that that's I know I
that I want to hook it up to.
Right. Okay, here's a web form. And so, like here, I might just have, like you said, lead source equals XYZ landing page or whatever. Website in this case, right? And then I would say I want to check new contact so that it's not going to, if I accidentally change somebody's lead source to website that's been a customer for 10 years, they're not going to get this campaign, right? It's only going to happen for new contacts that are added to the system. And then down here, you just, type in the name of the campaign that you created, right? Your sequence, and select it. And then you just save it. And that's it.
So what did I just do there? I just created a new, not an automation. I just kind of added to the automation, did I?
Yeah, that's right. That's what this is an automation.
It's like you're just adding another kind of a command. Here's this automation you have, and now actually you want to do this other thing. You can hook that up to this automation too.
Yeah, or the way I would think about it is when this criteria is met, right?
Yeah.
Do this.
Oh, okay. And I can just, like you just did, I'll do it by going into the automation that I want to use, that I want to hook up.
Right. Huh. Now, one quick little note that just might trip you up. You see right here, this running checkbox.
Yeah.
If it's not checked, then it's turned off. When you're looking at the overall list on the main automation plans, you can see these that say stopped are not turned on. They're not working. So you can create one and kind of have it in pause mode while you're testing everything and making sure everything's right. And then if you want to make sure it shows running here or it's not in effect.
Make sure it shows running. Okay.
The other thing that will come up eventually when you're trying to, get things running and troubleshoot and stuff like that is over here on the right, you see last added to, and most of these say false. That's because
I saw that in one of mine.
Yeah, so that means it has not fired for any contacts yet. So if you think it should have turned on for one of your contacts, maybe you run it through a test scenario and it still says false, then something's not working right. Otherwise it'll give you a date and a time of the last time it processed something.
Gotcha. Okay.
There is a lag though, so it may take worst case scenario 15 to 20 minutes. Give it that long, and if you don't see it showing a time here, then you probably got something wrong.
Got it. Okay. In the automation, I would have liked to have added, say, an SMS, the text as part of the thing, but I haven't hooked up Ring Central yet.
Right.
Because I've dialed through, I set up the quick to dial, the default on my computer to open phone is the app I use.
Right.
But if I want to be able to send a text reminder, all this is just to remind these people to just schedule a call with me or whatever, So I send an email. I'd like to, I've got a call in there after a couple of emails. If they haven't responded, the task is in there for me to call them.
Right.
Which I think that's great. I love that. But I'd like to put the SMS in. So I guess I'll just have to set up a Ring Central account just for doing that if I want to do that, right? I wonder if it's I don't think I can use open phone. It's either Ring Central or there's another one. I forget the name of it is.
Well, the text messaging in particular, you can only do with Ring Central.
Oh, okay.
So that's the easy button on that is just get yourself and I think they do some kind of a, I don't know, 15-day trial or something like that.
Yeah.
Where, you can go you need to create a phone number in the Ring Central system and then connect that account to SalesNexus in the integrations. And then when you are playing with your campaigns, you won't need to change your automation or anything. You just go into that existing campaign that you've already hooked up to the automation, right? And edit it. And then, go down here and say add SMS. And, I want that to go out on the 10th day or whatever. And, you can put in your mail merge fields and your text and blah, 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 right?
Right.
So I'm just kind of creating that little text message. And now that's just another step in that existing campaign. So as long as I save that here, now the next time the automation fires, it's going to trigger that SMS as well.
Oh, excellent. All right. And,
and
it wouldn't be, it's not like it's going to be a big expense or anything. I might as well just hang it on. Yeah,
I think it's like, I don't know, their pricing's changed a little bit. I haven't really tracked it all, but it's, $25, $30 a month or something for one.
Yeah. I'll do something like that.
And that lets you send like literally, I think it's close to 2,000 text messages a day.
Wow.
So, it works just the way you described it too. If you're using it to get people to tell you when, to set an appointment with you, right?
Right.
It works great for that. In fact, one of the most effective campaigns and automations that we have in our CRM is, when a new lead comes in, we'll call them a few times, right? And as well as emailing them and texting them and all that. So they're getting the full, they're getting inundated for a few days. But after we've called them, I think it's 4 times, and we still have not heard anything back from them, the caller, the person doing the calling, changes this one field in our system to what we call fired them, meaning I'm done calling you. I'm not chasing you anymore, right?
Right.
And we have an automation. When you set a contact to fired them, then send them a text, and the text is kind of aggressive. It's kind of like, hey, I've tried several times to get you on the phone. I haven't heard anything back. So I'm going to assume that, either you're falling off the face of the earth or you're just not interested, and I'm not going to be calling anymore. Right. People respond to that text message more than any other text message we've ever sent. It's one of those, people like to be chased by salespeople kind of thing, I think.
Yeah.
But the point being, you want to have some kind of automation that's, when you've done your whole sales process and you're kind of giving up on them, well, then turn on an automation or a campaign that's going to email them and text them and really, give them another chance to respond to you. And a lot of people will.
Oh, very good. I like it. And then if it doesn't matter what phone number I choose, if they get a different phone number that they're not used to seeing, it's not my main number, obviously. I mean, that's just standard in the business, right?
What's that?
That's just a standard thing. They would just get if my company, well, I'm over in Ireland, but my company address that I use is in Wyoming, in Casper, Wyoming. So I'll just get a Wyoming kind of an area code, and
Yeah.
that should do it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
You can't. They do have some options where you can use your actual number. I don't know what's involved in setting that up or what the limitations are, but you could look into that. But I don't. It's honestly, my suggestion is keep it as simple as you can initially, right?
Yeah.
The main thing is just people respond to text messages more than they respond to voicemails or emails. So
Yeah. So I gotta add that in. Yeah.
yeah.
And do you have to do that? What's that? A2PI, AP2, I forget what it's called. Do you know if I have to do that when I start this Ring Central account?
I think you do. They call it
If it's a
TCR.
local number, I think you're okay, right?
What's that?
If it's a local number, or not a toll-free number, maybe it's not as hard,
Maybe I'm not sure about all the rules, but Ring Central does make you go through this process. I think they call it TCR or something like that. It's some kind of FCC regulation, and basically what you have to do is answer a few questions about who you're going to be texting and for what reason, and you have to give them a couple of sample messages to look at.
Yeah, I've done it before for other things, so
yeah.
Okay.
And it takes a few days to get approved, but it's usually not that big a deal.
Well, that's great. All right, Craig. That's all my questions for now. Anyway, I sent this into support. I'll just add to it and say, hey, disregard. Don't want them to, respond.
Well, let's see. You're talking about it with the web form, right?
Yeah, I've already sent that in, but you can say that's resolved.
Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything additional. They probably will send you, if you haven't already gotten it, a link to a help article that'll kind of walk you through what we went over a little more. But
in that case, leave it. Yeah, I'll leave it in. So
yeah.
So I'm just thinking, I'd love to know more, learn more before getting on the calls with you, so I'm more I could be better versed in all this. So
this is great. These are great questions that you guys are asking, like today, for instance. And here's the cool part. What we've been doing is when in these kind of conversations, what I'll do is I'll take the video, and then we've got somebody on our team that will take and cut out each question and answer and make one little video that we can then give to the support team, which they now put into our help articles and everything with the video and everything. So now we have more, helpful information for everybody. So you guys are helping us make that whole process better. So thank you.
Oh, that's great. Oh, geez, no problem at all. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I guess there's other, you have the 4 steps to market domination. I remember I did all that a while back. I might have done that twice, but I think there's a few like sessions. If you sit in on them, watch them. I haven't made the time to do it, but they're like an hour long each. It's like basic training. I think that's in there. Maybe if I went through that, I just want to get a better grasp of the whole system.
Well, I'd love to get some feedback from both of you guys, Neil and Mike. One of the things I keep thinking about, because mostly in these meetings, we're getting pretty, granular on the how to set stuff up right? But at the end of the day, what you're both trying to do is get the system set up so that it's, automatically communicating to all the different people that you need to communicate to. And then your time as a quote unquote salesperson, right? You can make the most of that time, right?
Yeah.
And we never really in these sessions spend a lot of time on that process. Like how do you use SalesNexus when you're in sales mode, right? How do you do that the most efficiently? I've been thinking we need to do kind of like a separate real focus on that. Because there's a lot there, it goes back to a lot of the things we talk about, but how do you lay out the screen so that when you're on the phone, it's real easy? How do you make sure you got, the right campaigns automated so that no matter what happens in that call, You don't have to spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes afterwards, making sure the right things happen for that customer. And then just as importantly, the reporting part of it, right? You want to be able to, like in your case, Mike, you want to be able to go back and look at a report of not just how many leads came in from your website and maybe how many of them turned into customers. Sure, you want that. But what's really useful in the real world is, of the ones that came in from the website, how many of them did you ever even get on the phone, right? And have a conversation, right? Because I'm assuming you're planning to do some kind of, are you going to be spending money on ads to drive traffic to the website?
Actually, not in this case.
Oh, okay.
But maybe, not right now, but maybe in the future,
Yeah. Well, or I guess you'll be sending emails and stuff, right?
Oh yeah, definitely emails. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because what you'll find is that a little bit of difference in the message that you're using at the marketing level, at the top of the funnel, that email message, or in the case of, could be a Facebook ad, whatever, right? Sometimes the message you come up with that makes sense to you attracts the wrong people for some reason. You end up with all these leads that you either you can never get them on the phone, or when you do, they're not very qualified or whatever. And just a little tweak in the language in your email or in your ad can totally change the types of people that are responding. And so you need to be able to track that, right?
Right.
So you can just test and measure and change and test again, right? Yeah. So anyway, like I was saying, I've been thinking about putting together a session that's more focused on that whole managing the funnel and really optimizing the funnel concept. Just, I don't know, maybe you guys,
Right.
you're both pretty experienced. You probably kind of already know that stuff, right?
Not really. I should know a lot more than I do. So I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, all that stuff will be helpful. But yeah, I've got some really good ideas that that I think are possible. And then maybe on another call, we could get down to how to set that up. But maybe if you could just answer if what I have in mind is possible.
Sure.
So what I'm envisioning is, not only will I have the campaigns going out, but while I have campaigns going out, I'm going to be going down the list, making phone calls, doing outreach. I'm going to either speak to the owner, I'm going to speak to their receptionist, I'm going to speak to somebody, and I'm going to get more information from them. As I'm getting that information, I'm filling out the form. Okay, who's the owner, who's in charge of the marketing and advertising, who orders the supplies, all that good stuff. And then depending on how I mark that call and what information I put in there will hopefully trigger a really sophisticated network of campaigns that I'll have set up. For example, if I'm able to speak to the owner and I get a pain point out of them, and I write down their pain point in the area where the pain point goes,
Mm-hmm.
is it possible then to set a trigger so that as soon as I do that, that lead will automatically get sent to a certain campaign that has a placeholder for that pain field. So it'll say something like, hey, I just got off the phone with you. I just wanted to do a follow-up email. You spoke about this. You told me about pain point, and it fills in those spots. And so it's, and same thing with, if I know what city they're in, like the more placeholders I could put in there, I believe, the more specialized to that particular customer, and the more productive it'll be.
Right.
So is that the idea? Is that what's possible, where I could actually do that as I'm making phone calls and just filling it in and moving on, and knowing that as I fill out those fields, it's going to automatically get triggered into the right campaigns that I have set up.
Yeah, that's exactly the idea. And yeah, I love the way you're envisioning it. I love that. Especially the pain point, and then you mail merge that into the email itself. That's really, really smart. That works wonderfully.
Yeah.
There's only one little technical limitation that might as well show you so it doesn't trip you up later. When you're setting up the criteria in the automation, right? We're in the automation plan here. You can choose any of your fields and all of that. But over here on the right, you can't just type in a random text value. You have to pick it from a drop down, right? So in your case, where you have this pain point field, right? You probably want to set that up as a drop down and have some, standard things. They may say it a little different, but you know what they mean, and you pick off that value, right?
Okay.
So
gotcha. I think I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So
it's got to be a predefined field in order for it to have a trigger hook.
Right. Now, the alternative way to do it, because I can see the value of, I'd really like to type that pain point in exactly the language that the guy said it to me, right?
Yeah.
So it's really going to trigger it in his mind. So what you could do is you could just have I don't know what I got in here that could be a good example, but let's see, personal pain, right? So I've got a field for that, and I got some random stuff in the drop down, but you could just have a field that just says pain point identified or something, yes or no, right?
Yep.
And then a separate field where you actually put the pain point. Does that make sense? And then your automation just says pain point identified, yes, then trigger this campaign, right? That way it's not, that way actually one advantage would be you don't have to have multiple automations for all the different pain points that you're going to run across, right? Is that making sense?
Yeah, I think so. So from what I gather, we could do the trigger for the pain point, but there isn't a way to have it displayed in the email unique and verbatim as the way I wrote it in the notes.
No, there is. Let's just do it. I'll show you real quick. I think it can be pretty straight ahead. So I'm going to just create a new field and call it pain point description. Okay. And that's just going to be a character field, nothing special about it. Easy. No drop down, no nothing. And then I'm going to create another field and call it pain point identified. And you could play with doing a checkbox on that one. I'm just going to, just for the sake of keeping things simple, I'm going to make it a drop down, and then I'm going to say the options in the drop down are yes or no.
Okay. So that's going to be the trigger part.
Yeah, exactly. So now when we go, so first we're going to go to our email template that's part of the campaign, right? And when we're doing our mail merge and everything, we're going to put in that pain point description, right? So your email might say something like, since you mentioned that your struggling with, and then I would go over here and get that pain point description, right? Where is that? There we go. Pain point description, and mail merge that in, right? So you want to put that in the template.
But right now the description you put was just yes or no, right?
No, this is the pain point description is what you're going to fill out with what they actually say, right?
Okay.
Right. We created two different fields. One's the pain point ID, and the other one is the pain point description, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
And then I would have on my, this is a little, it's, yeah. So on, on your layout here, right? You would put that pain point description, well, both fields you would put on the layout, right?
Right.
So I'm going to put them at the top.
I see you did create both of those now. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
So that, I'm on the phone with this guy and he's telling me, can't afford vacation this year or whatever, right?
Yeah. Too busy at work to call back leads when it's a good time or whatever.
Yeah. Exactly. And then, so I want to make sure and check this and say yes, right? So now I'm going to set up an automation that says, if this pain point identified is yes, then trigger that campaign that sends that email that we just added this mail merge field into, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense? So we would
go,
let's do the automation part. Wait, no, that's not where I wanted to go. Let's go. Okay, there we go. So we would go here and say when pain point ID'd equals to yes, then trigger the campaign, right? So we don't even need that pain point description in the automation. That's only being used to mail merge into that email.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I just might have to go back over the video to make sure I'm doing it right. But yeah,
sure.
You made it seem pretty simple. So
yeah, I mean, you're definitely on the right track. I mean, it's that personalization, right? That if you can figure out a way to do that well and automate everything, then wow, you got a machine, right?
Right.
The tricky part I find is writing the email so that mail merging in whatever phrase you put in that field is going to sound normal. You know what I mean? That's the hard part. I mean, in your business, you might be able to ask the question just the right way. So you're always going to get sort of the right kind of response. You know what I mean? Or maybe just, almost like after a doctor's appointment, you send them the email that's like your diagnostic, on there, what they told you, thanks for your time. Here's what I wrote down as the things that you're struggling with. And then it's just a list or something.
Right. Yeah. I could get creative with that. That makes sense. Yeah. This opens up a whole world of possibilities.
It's really powerful.
Well, in my mind, I don't know about you guys, but the hardest thing to do about all of this is creating the content itself, right? It's one thing to write an email, just a simple email like we're kind of talking about here, but at the end of the day, videos and maybe, like a buyer's guide or a case study or, those kind of pieces, that's what really, really works in terms of a nurturing campaign, right? But that takes a lot of time, and money.
Well, AI can help you with the emails. I know it's not the answer. But if you tell it what you want, it'll spit some stuff out, and you might look at it and go, "Yeah, actually, that's not bad, but Keith, leave this out. I don't want that to be said, and I want it
Right.
to be said like this." And I often use Perplexity for that kind of stuff, so I'm not too worried. You know, the content's not too bad. It's just getting to know this system. I just got to spend more time in this. It's such a great system.
Well, speaking of the AI, Mike, have you guys seen this right here?
No, I never noticed it.
Yeah. I never
I
talk
haven't
about
investigated it much, but
right?
yeah, almost forgot about it.
Yeah, it works pretty well. It's just like you say, it's a great way to start, and then you just tweak it, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I
Does
had
that
one
have a
more question.
built-in AI, or is that connected? Do we connect it to our own like ChatGPT?
No, it's all self-contained. It's hooked up to ChatGPT via the API.
Oh, cool, nice.
Oh, through our own API, basically, right?
Through ours. So it's
Yeah.
not
Oh,
you're not
we're not
losing.
even using our own credits.
Yeah, no.
Oh, well, that's very nice.
Um, but yeah, you know, the point I was making about the content is that's, you know, sort of the holy grail, right? I've got a 10 email drip. So everybody that doesn't want to buy right now, I can just put them on this automated drip that's going to kind of educate them and get them to the point where they're ready to buy, right? But creating 10 emails that aren't going to just bore everybody because you're saying the same thing over and over again, you know,
Right.
that's a little bit of a challenge. But the mistake that I see people make over and over again is they're thinking that way, right? They know I'm going to need, you know, 10 emails that are all unique and special and interesting and all of that. And they go away and they say, okay, well, I'm going to pay some marketing firm to create that for me, which is going to cost me thousands of dollars and take a couple of months, right? Or I'm going to try and do it myself, squeezing it in amongst all the other stuff I'm trying to do, which will probably take even longer. But the problem is the worst person to decide what that campaign should be is actually you, right? Because you're not objective about your business, right? You're so deep into it, right? You know why it's so awesome, right? Your customer doesn't. They don't even know that it's a problem they need to solve, right? So the point is, start sending the emails, even if all you got is one, because you will very quickly start to see in those reports, what's my open rate? What's my click rate? And that's all you really need to know, right? Because if they're opening it and they're not clicking on it, it tells you that they're kind of interested, but what you're offering them in the email isn't compelling. So change the email, right? And you can just sit there and iterate until you end up with 10 emails that really perform well, right? So you can let the data make the decisions for you, right? And, you know, so you'll see by doing that, you know, I tried this and we had, you know, good engagement. I tried that and the engagement was low, and that'll trigger an idea. Then you go to the AI and say, give me an email that says these words, you know, and you know, it can create something that will sort of match what the data is telling you. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Great.
Just sort of, you know, one little micro test at a time, you know?
Craig, I've got one more question I thought of there. You know, when you import, say, a list of cold emails, does it automatically tag them all to that kind of list that you're importing? Or do you have to just like give them a name and tag them? I would just like to be able to access them later, but know that they all came from this one list that I imported. And I want to be able to pull them up all at once.
Well, it goes back to kind of the same concept that we were talking about earlier with your form. So you want to, like you say, you want to tag them, right?
Yeah.
So when you're importing them, let me just pull up a file. Hopefully I got a CSV sitting around here I can grab relatively easily. Well, maybe, maybe not. Here we go.
So I think what you're going to say is you could create that extra field as you're creating the mapping, or you could do what I do, which is after I upload everything, I then do a lookup for everything that I uploaded on a certain day, and then I bulk create a lead source for them is how I did it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So Mike, when you load your CSV and you go to the next step here in the process, and you want to go through and map all these fields, right? You're familiar with that process. But down here at the bottom of all the fields, this is a long file. You have some options. You can create a new field right here,
of course,
on the fly, or in this case, what I would recommend is you just go here and you say, let's just use that same lead source field, but we're gonna give it some value other than website, right? Like, or XYZ landing page. We're gonna put cold list, or maybe even more specific, the ABC Trade Association, or whatever it is, right? Wherever you got the list, right? Because now all of the contacts that you load will have lead source equal to that value, so you can always go and do a report.
Perfect. Perfect.
Right? Like, in fact, one of the things that I really use a lot in our account is, let me see if I can show you here in my demo database. Yeah, just leads by source, right? And this is just taking the lead source value and giving you a graph, right? So if, just on the fly, we're having a marketing discussion and we want to know, well, what happened with all the leads from the trade show last year? Well, I can just go right here and be looking at, now I'm looking at the list of leads from that trade show last year, and I can go through them and see what happened, right? So you can create a little dashboard that'll let you use that data in the lead source field, or any field for that matter.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Thanks very much, Greg.
Sure. I'm going to have to go here in about 5-ish minutes, guys. Any other questions that you had, Neil?
No, thank you for your help, Craig. It's been amazing. Always learn something new, and looking forward to all the capabilities.
Yeah, well, thank you for your time. Mike, what about you? Any other questions?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks. That's all my questions answered. Thank you so much, Craig. That's brilliant. What a system.
Sure. Yeah. And both of you guys, when you're getting all this stuff into sort of almost ready, you're thinking it's close, use me as a guinea pig. Put me on your campaign, and that way it makes it super easy for me to just see what you've sent out. I can hit reply and go, hey, this is great, but I would change this or add this or whatever, So don't, happy to help in that way if I can.
Brilliant.
Appreciate
Thank
you. Awesome. All right, signing off, guys.
All right, guys. Thank you. You all have a great rest of the day.
Yep. You
you.
too.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.